Gamers. We are an interesting people. We like to have two monitors instead of one. We like to have our keyboards shine the colors of the rainbow instead of having a normal brick that goes. But we really do like the sound, right? And so, a couple weeks ago, I decided that I am going to level up my gamer physique. I'm going to level up. I'm going to become stronger as a gamer. And I was like, okay, I'm going to buy myself a second monitor. And so I came to this decision and I was like, oh, where could I buy myself a second monitor? And I remember that I had seen a monitor for sale at a local thrift store. And so I decided the other day to go over there and, pick a monitor up because I saw one for sale. And so this was probably a couple weeks ago, and I'm driving down there. I go in the thrift store. Whenever you enter a thrift store, you get hit by that smell. It's like right in your face. It's like the smell of dust, musk, and a little bit of sadness of the objects that were left behind by their old owner. That kind of smell. And you look around you and you see just like the dolls and like the clothes and the jewelry that's kind of rusty, and sometimes you'll find a gem, but most of the time it's not a gem, it's a piece of plastic. And then you look over and you see what you really like, the tech section, where it's got all the old technology that's like, left behind. And I get my little tushy over there, and I go over there and I turn the corner and I'm like, and I see it, the monitor I was planning on getting, and I'm like, okay, I gotta pick this baby up. And I'm looking around, I don't see a price tag anywhere, and I'm like, okay, I wonder how much this costs. I'll just take it and ask the front desk. Now I pick it up, I grab a few cords that I think will help me hook it up to my monitor, because it's a little bit of an older monitor. It doesn't have HDMI, but it has that little blue block that you see on basically every school projector that is connected to a computer that is far too old to be running in a school, or students who are, let's put it this way, the computer is usually as old as the student. And so, I pick it up, I take it to the front desk, and this nice lady, she looks at me, and I'm like, hey, so how much is this gonna cost? I wasn't able to find a price tag. And she looks at me, she's like, let's weigh it. And I'm like, hey, weigh it? Why? And she's like, well, it didn't have a price tag, so let's weigh it. And I'm like, okay, oh, beats me, oh, why? And I stick it on the scale. And she asked me, the scale, I stick it on there, it goes, like the little, it's one of those older ones that's a little less stable. And, I'm looking at it, I wait for it to finally rest after having that kind of like little dance that it has. And she's like, well, what's it weigh? And I'm like, it says 6. And I think it was pounds. And she's like, 6? Okay, $6. And I'm like, $6? And she's like, yeah, it's $6. It weighs 6 pounds. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's awesome. And I take it and I pick it up, and I'm ecstatic. I just earned a monitor for $6. I'm like, okay, hopefully this thing works, because if so, I scored big time. And I get my little tushy in the car, and I start that engine up and stick the monitor in the back seat, look at it lovingly. It looks back at me. It gives me a little kiss. I kiss it back. As it be. I drive home. I'm blown out of my mind right now. I'm like freaking out. I'm like, okay, I can finally be a real gamer. I can finally look at my YouTube videos and my gaming at the same time. This is going to be awesome. And I get home. I wipe it off because it's covered in the greasy grime of the dust that has, been plaguing those thrift stores since the ancient times of old. And I take it upstairs. My little sister sees it. She's like, oh, what's that? I'm like, oh, it's a monitor. She's like, huh? And I'm like, it's not a computer. It's a monitor. She's like, oh, okay, I got you. And I stick it in my room, and I put it right next to my monitor. I'm getting it all set up, and I'm like, okay, I gotta plug this sucker in. I spend like a few minutes like trying to get all the things that I think I need to get it set up before I even try to turn it on. I try to find a cord, trial and error, find one that works. It turns on. Ooh, and I'm like, yes, it works. And I'm like, okay, I gotta plug this thing in now. I take the cord. Now it doesn't have HDMI, so I take the cord that I had bought to use it with my, computer. And it's like one of those I think they're called AVIs. It's like the blue little brick with the weird prongs. You like got it twisted into the thing. It's like like that. And I stick it into the monitor, and then I take it. I like do my little happy dance over, and I look behind my PC, and I'm like, eh, and I'm like, there's no spot on my PC for this. And I'm like searching everywhere. I'm like, wait, hold on. I just spent $6 on this. That's not too much, but I mean, I want it to work. And I'm like looking around. I can't find it. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, oh gosh, what do I do now? And I'm like, okay, I guess right now I'll go to the store. I go to my local Best Buy, and I'm going to buy an adapter because it was only $6. I can spend a few more dollars. It's probably an adapter's probably what gonna be like $5 or something. Okay, I'll go to Best Buy. I get my little booty in the car again. I'm a little disappointed that I can't just get it to work, but I'm like, okay, I want to get this going before my stream today. Get in the car, start driving, pop in some tunes. I'm vibing out. I'm going. I'm getting to the Best Buy, and lo and behold, I get there. And I walk through the glistening gates of Best Buy, and you go into Best Buy, and it's just like, it's like you enter a different universe. You're like, what? There's stuff over there, but freaking out, trying to figure out where everything is. But then there's that angelic person at the front. He looks to you, and he floats down like an angel, and he's like, "Oh, son, what are you looking for?" And you look to them, and you as you've entered this new realm, and you're like, "Trying to find the adapter cord, sir." And he's like, he points in a direction, and he says, "That way, my boy." And then you follow it, and that's basically what happened. He tells me where to go, and I go there. And I finally find it. It's in the very corner of the store. The very corner. It is like, there's the corner, right here, wall here. Here's the cords. I look around. I'm trying to find the right one. I'm like, okay. First of all, hold the tea, sis. These cords are not $5. These adapters are not $5. They are $20 to $25 plus. Like they are spendy as buying a little goblin from a garage sale in like a different planet. Okay, you can't think of how expensive it'd be just to buy an adapter for a cable that's like 5 years old. I'm like, okay, I'll buy it. I swap one up, one that wasn't open, because best believe there was one open, because it's the corner of the store. Someone popped one of those suckers open, tried to steal it, wasn't successful, right? I take the one that's not open. Take it to the front desk. I waddle on over, and I'm like, "Hello, sir. Can I buy this, please?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And he's like, "Okay, that'll be blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Okay." And he's like, "Hey, do you want me to send the receipt to your email?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And he sends it to the email. I get back in the car. I drive home. I'm booking it at this point. I want to get that piece. I want to get that monitor listening with the beauty of a second monitor. I want to feel so cool. I want to finally be able to look at Discord calls with the miscreants of my friends talking about anime and gaming, while also playing I don't know, Fortnite or Minecraft. I'm a little cringe. And so, I get home, and I plug this adapter in, and I plug everything in, and I'm like excited, I'm ready, and I try to turn it on, and no signal detected. No signal detected. And I'm like looking. Why is it not turning on? Huh? What? I bought the adapter. Why is something not working? I don't know what to do. I'm freaking out. And so, I try putting it in different ways. I try putting one in, and then the second first, and then, adapter, and then the cord, and then into the PC, and the opposite way around. I basically, made it like all the combinations of a Rubik's Cube, but with cords, okay? It was insane. Nothing worked. At this point, I'm, almost crying. I'm like, okay, I gotta go back to Best Buy, and return this cord. And I start heading back. I get in my car. I take the adapter with me. I take everything. I take all the container, everything, and I'm thinking, okay, he sent the receipt to my email. If I can, maybe I can ask him to see it, because I looked through and I couldn't find it. I get over there. I'm like rushing, of course I'm playing music again, but this is more like an angry bop as opposed to a happy bop last time. It used to be this, now it's this. It drastic change. I get there. I open the doors. Instead of being like this angelic dimension now, it's more like I've entered the boss realm. Okay, I'm like looking around. I'm realizing I was in here like less than half an hour ago. I'm back. The vibe changes. I walk cautiously to the cashier. I see the guy that checked me out. He knows me. He saw me. He hit all the buttons. Check me out. I see him. I walk over there. A different guy over there helps me out. He's like, hey, what can I do for you, bud? And I'm like, hey, so this adapter I got, it's not working. I was in here probably less than like 40 minutes ago or less. Like, can I please just get a refund? And he's like, okay, well, do you have a receipt? And I'm like, no, the receipt was sent to my email. And I'm like looking for like a phone or something. And I'm like, crap, I left all my stuff at home because I came in such a rush. I even left my wallet. So even if I wanted to have bought a different thing, I'd left it. I was screwed. And he's like, okay, well, we can check our system. We can check our system. It should be fine. And I'm like, okay. And he's like checking through. He's like scrolling, and he's like, the receipt's not here. And I'm like, huh? And he's like, sorry, sir, it's just not here. I can't quite verify that you bought this. And the guy that had checked me out, he's like standing over there. He's like kind of looking. He's like that kind of like side eye. He's like, this guy, I checked him out, but I can't say anything. And I'm like looking at him a little bit. I'm like giving him a look like, please help me out. I'm begging you. And he's just like looking at me. He's like, and so and I'm like, well, is it maybe just not in the system yet? And he's like, oh yeah, that's right. Sometimes it can take upwards to an hour to a couple hours for it to actually get in our system. And I'm like, okay, good. And I'm like, I didn't steal this. He's like, yeah, no, I believe you. And so, I'm like, okay, well, is it possible for it to be in faster? Maybe in an older thing? And he's like, I'm sorry, sir, it won't be in there for a while. And I'm like, okay, this is fine. And I'm like, and he's like, well, you could maybe wait. It'll at this point it'll probably be only a half hour. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay. I have to go because I got a live stream to catch. And so I like leave. I feel a little embarrassed, I've got that little shy boy ooh walk. I'm like, ooh, that kind of vibe going on. I get in my car. I almost start crying. I'm like, this monitor's just gonna be sitting empty screened on my desk. I get home. And I walk to my room, and I'm like, I finally see my parents are, they're now home, and I'm like, guys. And then I break the whole spiel to them, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, son. And I'm like, it's okay. I'm just gonna go stream now. And then, I go stream. And that was multiple weeks ago. And for a little reference, here, I'll show you the monitor. I'll show it to you. Ignore the mess on my desk, but I haven't gotten my first paycheck from my new job yet. I can't buy a new cord. It has been like 3 weeks, and I still can't get the chance to turn it on. And that is the worst experience I've had with trying to set up a monitor. Thank you. If you liked it, like and subscribe, hang out, say hello to me, catch me alive maybe. I don't care. It's your choice. Have a great day, and thank you for watching. Later, skater.